We'll hear a bit more from Alex Neil in just a moment. Would you agree with his post-match assessment, Barnsley?
Yes, I mean, one thing I will add, though, is I think Coventry had at least 15 Swedes playing up front by the number of pronunciations we went through yesterday afternoon, and I don't think we ever got to the correct pronunciation. Mark Robbins came out afterwards and came out with another one. So I thought, well, let's hope they sell him by the time we go back to Coventry.
Well, for more reasons than one, because he was a bit of a thorn in Sunderland's side.
He's a Swedish international, so there's always that quality. And Alex Neil had been very clear last week that when you step up to this level, one moment, can cost you. You've got to concentrate. One word he used a few times yesterday afternoon was concentration. Right at the end of the first half, Sunderland nearly got caught in the corner in the last seconds. Again, it was a lack of concentration, and Coventry won the ball back in the corner and whipped it right across the face of the goal. That could have been an equaliser right at the break. But ultimately, a fair result, because Sunderland were, I think, unquestionably the better side in the first half. We knew that Mark Robbins would address things in the second half, which he did. He used his substitutes to good effect. Sunderland lost their momentum. They couldn't get hold of the second ball. They couldn't really get out of their own final third until really towards the end when they brought Patrick Roberts on. And maybe, with hindsight, we were thinking, had they brought Roberts on maybe 10, 15 minutes earlier, it may have been a little bit different, because suddenly they had a bit of conduit and they had Roberts making runs down the right wing and looking a bit more threatening. But that goal was inevitable in the end, and 1-1 would probably be a fair result, as I say. And I think that before the game we'd said, ultimately the most important thing today or yesterday was not to lose the game, I think.
And yes, it is their first game at a higher level again, Stephen, and they haven't recruited that many players over the course of the summer. So with all that borne in mind, how did you feel they fared against Coventry?
I think especially first half, if you look at the starting lineup, I think it was only Ballard that kind of came in that hadn't played for Sunderland before. So it was more or less the same kind of players that have got promoted from League One. But I thought first half, Sunderland, like Nick mentioned there, were by far the better team. They had some really good rotations in the midfield with Dan Neil, Pritchard and Embleton. I thought them three in particular got a real hold of the game, and they looked a real threat. And obviously Gooch down the right hand side put a couple of good balls in. And listen, you always going to have moments in the game, even in the first half. Coventry, you always felt like they had that quality where they could possibly score out nothing. But I think in general it was a really good opening 45 minutes, and I think it would have given the whole of the Sunderland squad a lot of confidence, because a lot of them players hadn't played at this level before. So after playing so well and getting the lead against Coventry, you kind of go in and thinking, do you know what, we can compete now, and you're not as fearful. But to be fair to Coventry, they came out second half, and it was a different game second half. Like Nick said, they really had hold of the ball, and Sunderland couldn't really keep hold of it, and Ross Stewart became a little bit isolated at times in the second half. But I think a draw is a fair result. Like Nick said, you don't want to lose that first game, especially with a big crowd turning up as well. So I think both managers probably go away and think, do you know what, take 1-1 and move on.
Let's hear it.
Just before we do here, it's worth adding as well, I think. I mean, we mentioned it in the commentary. You just heard me sort of saying, just as Gooch was scoring, there were 4 players who've come through Sunderland's academy, started yesterday's game in the Championship.
Yeah.
And that's a good, when you look back now, that is great. I mean, to have that number, and potentially there will be more as the season goes on.
Let's hear from Alex Neil, the Sunderland head coach.